All right, let's spin the wheel, Cody. Where do we want to go? Pick an SEC town for me.
Ooh, man. Baton Rouge might be calling my name here, Andy. It calls it often, but it's calling it in particular right now.
In Baton Rouge.
Yeah, the Baton Rouge is calling me. It might be LaBerge. I might be hearing LaBerge calling my name. Maybe that's what it is, LaBerge Casino. But either way, I want to take a look at Baton Rouge, Andy. What do you got for me?
So we had a long talk with Billy Embody on the show on Tuesday, and I was not jolted with much confidence for LSU's defense. I did not get that surge of confidence that I was hoping Billy might be able to give me. I do feel good about where their offense is at. I love their offensive line. Love the fact that they can probably run the ball too, along with having a good quarterback ascension plan, having receivers who are going to come in. You have guys who played behind Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. You also have like CJ Daniels, who brought in from Liberty, who could be very good. The ceiling is a CFP berth, like a 10-2 at-large CFP. I'm not guaranteeing any wins in the CFP, but the ceiling is getting in. The floor
is bad.
7-5, 6-6.
I don't disagree. I think this is a team that had some serious issues on the defensive side of the ball in particular, right? They lose Matt House. They bring in Blake Baker from Mizzou. Love Blake Baker. Great guy, great coach. But the thing is, and I think, the college football community would agree with this statement. It's about the players. You can bring all the coaches in the world that you want, but if you don't have the guys out on the field to do the job, it doesn't matter. I think they did do a little bit of a job on the back end, with Austin Osbury from Auburn. They bring in Jordan Gilbert from Texas A&M, but they've only brought in one corner in what was arguably the worst position group on the roster last year. They take Jair Brown from Ohio State. They bring in one interior defensive lineman and Gio Perez from Wisconsin.
Not for lack of trying.
Exactly. They lost 3 to the portal. Plus, they lose Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo to the NFL. And look, I understand trusting in a developmental approach. I do. They bring in some young, talented guys like Gabriel Relaford on the D-line. They bring in Deshaun McBride to fill in the back half. But this is a group that needed help up front and at the corner position. And I just don't think that was addressed in this offseason. And that's going to pay dividends in this 2024 season. I just don't know what this defense looks like.
That's my issue too. And I still can't wrap my mind around LSU not having really good corners, or at the very least, a freshman class that has somebody who can jump in and be a starter right away and an effective player right away. Cause it felt like they had somebody every year like that for 10 years.
Right. No question. And ironically, it's something that has been LSU's calling card for so long, like you touched on, and they really do have the coaches in place to mold these guys. Corey Raymond's back at LSU. He's the one that built that unit. Blake Baker's back. He was the linebackers coach a couple of years ago for LSU. Bo Davis
is a good example. We talked about with Billy, we were talking about Bo Davis. The guys he inherited at Texas, he made them better.
Absolutely.
Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat playing under Bo Davis became very high draft picks. And at a program where they weren't producing that kind of draft pick before. Absolutely. So perhaps he takes what he gets on the roster and turns them into that. But that's not an immediate right now thing. That's a next year thing or 2 years from now thing.
That's what I'm worried about. That is this season defensively, it almost looks, especially after whiffing at defensive tackle with guys like Demonic Williams going other ways, Phillip Liddy going other ways. It almost feels like they've sort of phoned it in terms in the portal, especially pulling in guys on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, to your point, Andy, I think they're going to be great. Now, I think it's going to be a complete 180 from what we looked at last year, right? With the Heisman winning Jaden Daniels and airing it out to Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors all over the place. I think Caleb Jackson is going to be the engine that runs that offense. Plus, they have, like you mentioned, they have 2 potential first-round picks on the offensive line, and Will Campbell and Emory Jones. I think they're going to run their tails off. And it's going to look a lot like the early 2000s LSU teams in terms of offense where they're going to run the ball and they're going to pound the ball 25, 30 plus times a game. And hopefully that helps keep the defense off the field.
Well, and on the defensive side, what do we see from Harold Perkins? What do they get out of him? As a freshman, it was see ball, get ball, and he was a very impactful player. He was not as impactful as a sophomore because they're trying to mold him into an off-ball linebacker.
Right.
I think at this point, you don't worry about what he projects as in the league. Like, just have him do the thing that creates the most havoc for the other team's offense. You're
preaching to the choir, Andy. Your job as college football coaches, your job is not to develop and send these guys to the NFL and lose games. That's not how this works. Your job is to win football games. The NFL part will come with it, right? Like, that comes with it. But if you're saying, hey, we're doing this for the betterment of his professional development, that's not what you're there to do. You're there to win. And if putting Harold Perkins in a 2-point stand, standing off the edge, is what helps you win games, you do that.
I agree. So that a lot of wide variation for LSU. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.